this third essay. So last week we completed the first and the second essay. And just to summarize it, the first and the second essay was about peace in the world, in the restless world. And we defined last week what restless means, what world means, what peace means, right? We defined world as three different worlds. One is the phenomenal world, where it's the world of totality. You know, it's everything, it's whole of nature. The other one is the social world, where it deals with people around us. And the third one is the world of the mind, because even you and I have to deal with the world of the mind. And actually, that's probably the most important world that we have to deal with. And we talked about restlessness in all those levels. What is restlessness in the phenomenal world is that when it's out of balance, when there is something there that causes disturbance, then that phenomenal world will throw something back at us in the form of an earthquake or a hurricane or something like that. And it's not because it wants to do it, it's because it feels a sense of imbalance, and therefore it's done. For the social world, the imbalance is when we don't care for each other, when we go over each other's territory, when we start to create disturbances for other people. Then there's an imbalance there. And for the individual world, when our thoughts are just negative or fear or anxiety, etc., there's an imbalance, there's a restlessness. And we talked about how to bring about peace in the phenomenal world is to live in harmony with it. With the social world, it's really to have good leadership. And with the individual world, it's really to stay positive and have positive thoughts. And we saw that last week when we say Om Shanti, 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 the first Shanti is to silence that phenomenal world. The second Shanti is to silence the world around us, the social world. The third Shanti is to keep our minds in peace. Today, we're going to reflect upon essay number 3 in your book, and it's entitled A Call for Transformation by Jagat Guru Sri Bharati Tirtha Mahaswamika. So what he talks about in this essay is essentially how transformation happens in us and around us. And it's really beautiful because he does it through Ahimsa, Satyam, and Brahmacharya. He does it through these, if you really read his essay, it's really these ground values, these base values that are part of Sanatana Dharma. So first he says, the greatest service one can do to humanity is not to hurt anyone by thought, word, or action, and this is Ahimsa. So first let's look at what Ahimsa means. When we think about Ahimsa, there's 3 different points that we can look at it. One is from the body, the action level, right? From the action level, what is Ahimsa? Ahimsa means non-violence. What is non-violence and what is Himsa? What is violence? Actually, from the action level, the way we've come to live our lives is Himsa. The way we are living is Himsa. Because we've lived in such a way wherein we waste so many resources. We're not careful about what we buy, what we need. We're not careful about how we're living our lives. There's that refuse, reuse, recycle, right? It's not about even recycling, because we know that things don't really get recycled all the time. And it's not about reusing, because we know that we don't really reuse things. The truth is, it's about refusing. If we want to be non-violent, then our lifestyle has to be very simple. It has to be very simple. It has to be that lifestyle which creates the least amount of disturbance to all those around us. That is ahimsa. When my life creates the least disturbance to all of the people around me, that is ahimsa. So by my eating, am I wasting food? By my buying, am I buying unnecessary things in styrofoam cups and all of that? Do I really need another cup of coffee? Maybe not. Am I carrying so many plastic bottles of water, and am I still using plastic bags? Am I doing all these kinds of things? Do I really need to be doing that? No. Do I really need to be buying all of these things that I don't need, or order things from Amazon just because it comes on Amazon Prime? The packages fill so much of our land. Our landfills are filled with packages. And so many, the US returns about 1 billion packages in December, and all those just get thrown out. So the idea of ahimsa first at the action level is, how am I living my life? And our rishis have said, the simpler we live it, then that is called ahimsa, because we're not creating disturbance. It's not about creating disturbance, not creating disturbance to humans. It's not about not punching and not hitting. That's a very, like a base level of understanding ahimsa. Ahimsa is even to the creatures around me, even to every single thing around me. I mean, that's why in our Sanatana Dharma we say Vayu is a devata. Varuna is a devata. Water is a devata. Am I using water correctly? And yes, it is true. It is true that to live, it's impossible without harming anything. It is true. Even for a vegetarian, right? A vegetarian, we still have to pluck fruit. We still have to get the vegetable. And that's always the argument, right? Why do you talk about being vegetarian when you also pluck fruit? You also take the vegetable. Why do you talk about being vegetarian then? But the idea is to create the least amount of disturbance. Jivo jivasya jivanam. And when we are able to do that, that is called ahimsa. Now, what is ahimsa in the word level? Ahimsa in the word level means that every single thing I say has an impact. In one Twitter message, you can reach so many people. You can reach, in 1 minute, you can reach 1 million people, millions of people in all corners of the world. And that word is so powerful. You see, word has the power to manifest form. You just think about, let's say you think about your mother, that word mother. That mother word has the power to bring your mother to you. You feel like her telling you, oh, don't do this. Oh, your house not clean. Oh, this, all that. That word father has that power to bring father to you. Take care of this. Are you okay? Don't waste money on this. Don't waste money on that. So that word has the power to bring that form close to your heart. So in ahimsa, we use words which bring divinity close to our heart. Himsa or violence is when we use words recklessly that they bring about these kinds of ill feelings. Like a certain word can create so much racism, can create so much xenophobia, can create so much harm just by using one word. So ahimsa means choose those words which invoke divinity to your heart, which bring divinity to your heart and to other people's hearts also. And to be aware of the kind of language that we use. Because those of you who have young kids, what happens when they're around you, right? You'll say something and all of a sudden they'll repeat it. They'll just repeat it. Well, you said, and it can be even something simple like that sucks. I mean, that's like sending such a negative thing, in the environment. That sucks. You don't really want your kids saying that sucks, Oh, I'm so bummed out. I mean, it's not even these profane language. It's these little things that it sends a negative vibration to the world. So ahimsa means being careful about what kind of language I am using. And ahimsa also means not to use too much I. You know, in Sanatana Dharma, there's this, we always say, I did, sometimes people say, I did this, or I was the one who did this, or I was the one who did that. The first lesson we had when I was a youth, when we went to Yuvavir, Swamiji said, never say I. You always say we. Never say I. Never say, I did this on my own. I accomplished this. He said, you never do that. You always, because it's always a team. It's always a lot of people who've put in effort. So even that kind of ego that I did this, or I'm like this, or I'm like that, that is also violence. That is also violence. So ahimsa means that language which invokes divinity to our heart and which is all inclusive, not making us trying to stand out and think that we're something really big and something really great. Then we come to ahimsa and thought level. What is ahimsa and thought level? You see, in our Sanatana Dharma, we have so many rituals, right? We have so many rituals. We Gayatri, Sandhya, then Ganapati Homa, Puja, Japa, all of these things. And many people want to also learn all of these rituals. How do they go? What's the meaning of it, etc. Many people, when they move into a new house, they always ask, is there a ritual we should do? So very beautifully, one of our Swamiji said, before even inquiring into these rituals, you please focus on the proper rituals in your own house, like making your bed. That's a ritual. Like brushing your teeth. So we can't even make our beds and brush our teeth and eat our food properly. Don't even think about learning Ganapati Homa. Forget about it. First, learn when you wake up to make your bed. Don't say, oh, okay, I'm going to go sleep in the same bed. It doesn't matter. To sit down and eat is a ritual. That also we don't know how to do anymore. We don't know how to do anymore. We don't know how to sit down and eat. We're always standing, or the phone is there, or somebody's there, or that's there. So many things are happening. Just to put your shoes in the proper place and your jacket in the proper place, that is also a ritual. Because how many times somebody doesn't put thing in the proper place and it gets lost? How much time do you have to waste to find that thing? So ahimsa in the thought level is to live consciously. To live consciously, knowing that everything is a ritual. Not only this thing which I do in my puja altar, not only that is a ritual. The way we wear our clothes, the way we do our hair, everything. So when I live consciously, then I am so careful about what I do. So to be or to practice non-violence, when we analyze this way at the action level, at the speech level, at the thought level, it's actually not so easy to do. But this is what it means. It doesn't just mean don't punch and don't hit. It's deeper than that. So first thing he talks about is ahimsa in this essay. The next thing he talks about is Brahmacharya. Now what is Brahmacharya? So he says, see, the problem in society is greed. Because we do know that we have more than enough to go around. We have more than enough resources for the whole entire world. It's there. But because of greed, people take more than they need. And what is greed actually? Greed means I'm taking so much because I forget what I already have. I'm acquiring so much, I forget that I have. In you, in me, we have a body that can do so many wonderful things. We have such a beautiful mind. We have infinite potential. And the best part is in you and in me, we are the self. You by yourself are sufficient. You by yourself are sufficient. You don't need anything else, actually. You don't. But greed comes when I forget that. I forget what I have. And therefore, I'm seeking for other things to make me full, to make me whole, to make me complete. Or you have a roof over your head, you have a wonderful family, you have everything there, but you're forgetting how wonderful your family is. You're forgetting how beautiful your life actually is. And therefore, oh, I want this, oh, I want that, I want this. Take time to see what we already have. And when we do that, we'll realize we don't really need so much. Just, like because of this whole sheltering in place and all of that, I'm realizing I really just don't need anything. It's just wonderful. I'm realizing, wow, you can really get by with very little. Very, very little. You don't need that. And I try to lessen everything that I have. And very little is needed. So imagine if we all were consciously living like this. What would happen? It would be a very different world. But this is something that slips our mind sometimes, So Brahmacharya is also that just living with what's required and realizing what we have already. Then he says the other thing, now he puts in terms of Satyam. And Satyam, why? He says a necessity for transformation is non-violence, is Brahmacharya, means moderation, simple living, and recognizing what we have. And the third one is Satyam, in the sense, Satya means truthfulness. Satyam means that you know or you have some kind of anchor. Because truthfulness means you're living a life of truth. You have some kind of anchor. And that's where he brings religion into play. Now, what is religion exactly? Many people say nowadays that I want to just be spiritual. Like I'm a Vedantin. I know that I am the pure self. Like, why do I have to do all of these things? See, religion is a technique of living. It's a way of gaining mastery over oneself. How Puja Gurudev defines it. He says that religion is this way by which we can discipline our lives better. When we come to philosophy is that Vedanta part, that I am the self, I am the pure self. That is very wonderful to know. But to be able to actually live that without the ground, the foundation of religion is very hard. When we have some kind of religious discipline, it makes our lives very different. We have to wake up a certain time. We have to do certain kind of japa or meditation or puja. Then only we can eat. Then only we can do this. We have to eat only this much. When we have that kind of thing, your life becomes more disciplined. And so that I am the self, it becomes very easy to live because you have that backing of discipline. So in Sanatana Dharma, we have so many such disciplines to follow. And if you're saying, okay, what discipline do I follow? You just follow one. You just follow when I wake up, you take a shower and do your japa or sit in contemplation for at least 10 minutes. You just follow one. And when you follow one, so many things happen. If I have to sit and I wake up and I sit for my japa, then what happens? If I say, okay, every day I have to sit at 6 o'clock for my japa, that means automatically I have to sleep early. I cannot sleep late and expect to wake up at 6 o'clock. If I have to sleep early, that means I have to eat light. I cannot expect to eat one big burrito and this and that at 9:30 at night and then go to sleep and wake up at 6 o'clock. It doesn't work. So then to eat light dinner, what does that mean? My lunch also has to be on time. I cannot eat lunch 2, 3 o'clock and then expect to eat light dinner, right? So you just follow one discipline that every day I will take a shower, I will sit at 6 o'clock. And you see how many other disciplines come in your life. That is called religion. That technique by which discipline comes in your life due to certain practices is what religion is trying to do. So that's why we still embrace it. That's why we still teach it. That's why we still follow it. If we don't have these things, we will have a lot of spiritually indisciplined people who say that, yeah, I just want to love all. Yeah, I just want to be happy. But there's no discipline in that person's life. And when there is no discipline, you and I cannot function at peak efficiency. What will you give? Spirituality means your life is of giving. And your life can only be of giving if you're disciplined. Because the more disciplined you are, the more you can give. What will you give? There's nothing to give. So he says that this religion is an important tool in one's evolution. And that it's not, and that there should be tolerance with other religions. But I'm even going to go on a deeper level. There should be some sense of respect. Because if that religion is, let's say, they say all religions are one path, all religions have the same goal, all religions believe in God. In some ways that's true, in some ways it's not true. See, all religions believe in God. Yes. But the way we all define God can be very different. The way we define God is Atma, the pure self. The way other religions define God is something different, someone in heaven maybe. There is only one goal, right? All religions believe that there is one goal, and many of us say it's eternal happiness. But how Sanatana Dharma defines eternal happiness is Swaswarupa Avasthanam, abiding in your own nature is eternal happiness. But for some other religions, it might be going to a certain place and going to a certain loka. It might be like that. So yes, there are similarities. Yes, that's fine. But what we innately respect is that if any religion is trying to evolve that person into a diviner being and make them a positive contributor to society, then that's something we really respect. Because if anything is helping us evolve, then let's just do it. It's not about you should follow my religion, I should follow your religion. It's not like that at all. And I'm going to read you what Swami Vivekananda says so that you can understand this point clearly. This is an address that he gave in Chicago. It was an address at the final session of the Parliament of World Religions on September 27, 1893. He says, the Christian is not to become a Hindu or a Buddhist, nor a Hindu or a Buddhist to become a Christian, but each must assimilate the spirit of the others and yet preserve his individuality and grow according to his own law of growth. If the Parliament of Religions has shown anything to the world, it is this. It has proved to the world that holiness, purity, and charity are not the exclusive possessions of any church in the world, and that every system has produced men and women of the most exalted character. In the face of this evidence, if anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and the destruction of others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart and point out to him that upon the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of resistance, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension. So he clearly says that we're not to change. Nobody needs to change. And us Hindus also we don't encourage people to convert. We say, if you do, means Gurudev had a speech converting Hindus to Hinduism. That's the only conversion I think we want to do, is that to bring Hindus back to Hinduism and realize how great it is. But very clearly, Gurudev says also, By studying Vedanta, a Christian will become a better Christian and a Muslim will become a better Muslim. So it is that respect that if you are evolving into a diviner personality and becoming a positive contributor to society, then we respect that. Because that in itself is helping everyone. But the problem is when the religion gets interpreted wrongly and thinks that their religion is the best religion and that's the only way to be followed and that's the way everything should be, and people in power twist it to meet it the way they want it to be, to protect themselves, this is where all the problems start. But the root of it is to bring out the divine in us. So when we are connected to some kind of religion, now Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism is Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism is actually a dharma. It's actually a dharma. It's not a religion per se, because there's no founder, there's no time when it started, it doesn't have these specifics that a regular religion would have. It is a dharma. So if a person is connected to a dharma or a religion, then that will help the person also transform. That will give some kind of basis. And if you see, the beautiful religions of the world, they also encourage giving. They encourage giving back to the community. They build hospitals, they build schools, they build all these kinds of things, and they serve in different levels. So, when we talk about giving back to society, there's two levels that we can give back. Some organizations will give back at the effect level. Effect level means they'll provide food, they'll provide shelter, they'll provide clothing, because right now that's the immediate effect, that's the immediate need. But there's also organizations which serve at the cause level. And the cause level is providing education, providing spiritual values, providing forums which will change the thinking of the person to prevent them from going into depression, to prevent them from being violent in society, to prevent them from misguiding others. So there's also organizations that serve at the cause level. So these beautiful religious or spiritual organizations will meet both needs. And they're different. Some organizations will have more of hospitals and more of feeding and more of that, which we also need. But some will focus more on teaching, more on prevention, which we also need. So to be connected to something like that is also a way of transformation. The last point that he makes now is that poverty is another reason why there's so much havoc in the world. And he makes a beautiful point here that people are not only physically poor, but also spiritually poor. We never thought about poverty in those ways. Usually when we think about poverty, we think about a person maybe who doesn't have a home, who doesn't have enough food, who doesn't have enough clothes, they don't have enough physical resources. And that definitely those organizations at the effect level can address and should address that need. But there are also people who are spiritually poor. And what does being spiritually poor mean? It means that I don't know what I have. As we spoke about earlier, I don't know what I have. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what all this is for. I just don't know. And people who have these questions, they need answers to them. And once they find out that they already are what they've been looking for, they'll realize how spiritually rich they actually are. I gave this example in our last class. I said that I had this program Zoom and I didn't know how to use it. So it's as though I was poor with Zoom because I had it, but I really didn't know how to use it. I knew how to set up meetings and everything like that. But then after learning and gaining more knowledge, because now we also have to learn how to use all of this, it's not that the program really changed much, but it's that the knowledge changed, that this can actually do so many more things than I thought it would be able to do. And so that poor of Zoom became richer because, not because Zoom changed much, but because that knowledge was given. So in the same way, we are spiritually poor when we don't know who we already are. And when that knowledge is given, then we also become spiritually rich. So poverty is of many kinds. It's not just of a physical kind. And one more concluding point, which he brings out very beautifully, is that there is a pollution happening. And we know that in the world there is a pollution. There's lots of pollution happening. There's pollution, there's in the water, there's pollution in the air, there's pollution everywhere. But really the kind of pollution he's talking about is mind pollution. There's pollution in our mind. There's dirt, there's stink, there's dust in our mind. And really that's the kind of pollution that has to be fixed. And only when that mind is fixed, then only the world can really be fixed. So just to summarize what we've spoken about, we started the article with what is the call for transformation? And in this article, Swamiji talks about Ahimsa from the 3 levels, from the body level, from the action level. From the action level, it means being able to live with creating the least amount of disturbance to those around me. From the speech level, it means to speak those words which are divine in nature, which bring divinity closer to me, and which are all inclusive. From the thought level, to live consciously. Every single thing is a ritual. Every single thing is a ritual. Then we spoke about Brahmacharya, to live within our means and realize what we have. And once we realize what we have, we won't want so much more. Because really, what more is there? And then we spoke about Satyam, that need to be connected to a religious or a dharma, something that brings about discipline in our lives. That will help transform. And then we talked about poverty and pollution.